everybody. Chaplain Sal, back for a coffee talk. You know what it is. Let's do this. Alright guys, so I figured I would continue my tools of the trade videos. Since you guys aren't sending me suggestions, I'm serious. Send me suggestions. I want to answer your questions. Anyway, I wanted to talk about crosses. And you'll see in my office I have a few of them. I have these. I've got a wooden one that was gifted to me. There's some crosses in the chapel, you know, all different types of crosses. One of my favorite crosses is the Celtic cross from England, Scotland, and Ireland. It's the cross with the circle. But I figured I'd do the two main crosses we have. The plain cross, you know, ignore the praying hands. Plain cross, the empty cross, and the crucifix. And I'll put some pictures in the video of different types of crosses, the Celtic cross and the empty cross and the chapel cross. So why do some churches have an empty cross and some churches have a crucifix? Well, you'll mostly see the crucifix in the Roman Catholic Church. You'll see it in some Orthodox churches. You'll see it in some Episcopal churches. Episcopal churches, you'll at least see crucifixes around the sanctuary, but in the main nave, you'll see an empty cross. So why two different crosses? And why do Christians display crosses or wear crosses? Well, why do we have as our symbol, main symbol, a torture device? Yes, this is a torture device. This was a torture device used by the Roman Empire to execute criminals. So why do we as Christians use it? Well, because it had no power over Jesus. Even though he died on a cross, he was lowered from the cross, and 3 days later, he rose again. So death on a torture device could not defeat Jesus. Death on a torture device like that could not defeat Jesus. And that's kind of why, and that gets to my second point of why do some churches have crucifix, why do some have empty crosses? It's kind of depends on where the church wants to, you know, and this is a general statement. This isn't, you know, all Christians believe in the empty cross and Jesus rose again from the dead, the resurrection. But some churches want you to think about the sacrifice that Jesus made on that cross, because this was a sacrifice. Pretty brutal sacrifice. And it's good to remember Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. Other churches want you to remember that Jesus' death had no power over Jesus, therefore the cross is empty, because he was resurrected. He defeated death. So the empty cross means this world, death has no power over Jesus, and therefore has no power over us. So those are the two differences. You know, it's good to remember the sacrifice, but it's also good to remember that ultimately the cross is empty because Jesus defeats death and is risen again. So that's just some of the theology and behind why we use crosses. These are actually from these are crosses that are put on top of caskets at funeral parlors for funerals. That's why I have these. And then you can hang them. There's little rings there. You can hang them. But and this is added. This is a Methodist from a Methodist or a Protestant funeral. They add the praying hands because the praying hands has become a symbol of prayer. So that's why we do crosses. And this is actually from my grandfather's funeral. So he's Roman Catholic. Anyway, that's been Coffee Talk. And again, if you want any subjects touched upon, let me know. Any questions about tools of my trade, why I do certain things the way I do. Some of those things, the way I do them that's my own personal quirks. I won't get into those. But if you want to know why I do certain prayers or use certain things, let me know. All right, guys. See you later. Oh, and don't be a jerk.